I just want to make something clear. I'm not trying to attack the game. I'm not trying to create drama. I just think it's very important for people to have the opportunity to get more information about something before they buy it. This way they're better informed. They know what to expect. So if anything in this video is offensive to you, it's the truth that's offending you, more so than me. I'm just saying this because I know we live in a day and age where people just love to shit on things just for the sake of shitting on things. Negative energy is incredibly addictive, perhaps tasty. That's not what I'm trying to be about. Just trying to tell you the truth about this Dogs Legion, okay? I, like many of you, very excited about Dogs Legion. I enjoyed the second one, I enjoyed the first one. Sure, they weren't perfect games, but I don't really give a crap about the story in these types of games. I want to go out there in the open world, explore, create havoc and shit. As soon as I'm done with a tutorial and the game gives me complete control, I'm out there pushing the limits of the game, creating chaos, more so than focusing on the main story and stuff like that. Like if this was a playground, you'd have kids playing basketball, I would be off to the side more than likely playing with ants or throwing baseball cards up against the wall. I mean, that's what kids did back in the day. I know it sounds crazy. Point is, I would be doing side activities. And the good news is, Dogs Legion has plenty of that. But unfortunately, from an open world game design point of view, they've actually taken a couple of steps back in certain ways, and I'll get more into that in just a minute. But overall, I think people will find something to enjoy in this game. The biggest issue I have is the technical side of things. The screen tearing is a big issue, and it's starting to give me a headache. It's not like Poppin', where you can kinda sorta train your mind to block some of it out. This screen tearing is hard to ignore. It's just like, boom, in your face, you have to deal with it. The only thing that seemed to help, at least disguise it, is when you play at night. When you're playing at night, it's not as obvious. Long extended periods of gameplay, my eyes are starting to get affected, and it's not a good feeling. I am actually considering waiting for the next-gen consoles to actually continue. Unfortunately, the game has other technical issues. It's not as stable as I would like, let's just put it that way, when it comes to frame rate. Also, the pop-in is incredibly bad. But at least the pop-in isn't going to give you a headache. Well, maybe with some people it will. For me, I can kinda sorta deal with it. And the next thing you know, we have a collection of things that are starting to add up, giving the player a very poor experience. Now, I know a lot of people are pissed off about Cyberpunk being delayed. Well, let me tell you something. I was incredibly excited about Watch Dogs. It releasing in this kind of state is a bummer. Is a complete bummer. And once again, we're left at the mercy of the developers to push out a patch. I am trying my very best to not go on a rant, but ultimately my bipolar has the last say when it comes to that. To put it simply, this is unacceptable, and it happens more often than it should. And part of the reason why this continues to happen is because these companies have built armies of damage controllers out of their own customers. They also offer programs such as Ubistar. Electronic Arts and other companies have their own programs. Now let me explain to you how it works. Sometimes at random, Ubisoft will come into somebody's stream or YouTube channel and invite them to be a part of their team. Come to the E3 convention, things like that, all sorts of perks, shoutouts, and to a streamer or a YouTuber. That's a big deal. A lot of people are trying to get successful on this platform. Content creators who are aware of these Ubistar programs and such are likely going to be incredibly biased. They're not going to talk about anything negative about the game in fear that they will no longer be eligible for these programs. And to be completely honest, for the longest time, I despised these people. I considered them shills or sellouts or whatever. But at the end of the day, people have to do what's best for them. And if that's the way they feel like they're going to come up, I hear you. I understand completely. But I just think when it comes to how these Ubistar type programs are actually designed, the way they work, the effect it has on people, almost putting them under a spell. I just think it's kind of gross. But anyways, back to what I was saying earlier about taking a step back when it comes to open world game design. One of the best things I like about games like Red Dead Redemption is the painstaking attention to detail. There's no detail too small. All of those little details start to add up, creating an open world that feels more alive, more lived in, for lack of better words, giving the game a soul. And so when a game like Watch Dogs Legion starts to take shortcuts in obvious ways, not including shopkeepers and stores and such, it kind of kills the immersion. Like, I get it, it's supposed to be the future, but just walking up to a wall and then all of a sudden it's magic, you're shopping, I just think that's kind of lazy. But that's just my opinion. And overall, it's not a huge deal. But stuff like that can also add up. As I mentioned just a moment ago, those little details start to add up, giving the world a more lived-in feeling. The flip side of that is less details, or taking things away, which ultimately make the world feel less alive. And I kind of feel like Watch Dogs 2 did a better job when it comes to this, making their world feel more alive. But not by a whole bunch. I think that Watch Dogs Legion has some cool stuff going for it. I think overall it's a fun game, but I can't see how anyone could recommend this game in the current state it's in, or at least recommending it with a disclaimer, with some sort of asterisk, because this game has a lot of technical issues that needs to be sorted out ASAP, and I hope they get around to it sooner than later. But other than that, that's pretty much all I have to say about Watch Dogs Legion. In my opinion, it should have been delayed, because there's no day one patch in sight that is addressing these issues. But of course, they're not willing to do that, because they're not willing to come out after Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, I know a lot of you guys are upset. Death threats, everything else. They're doing us a favor at the end of the day. There's going to be nothing more disappointing than putting Cyberpunk in your console and it running like complete dog shit. Let them optimize it. I understand some people took days off of work. I mean, so many people taking weeks off and shit. That must be a sign the economy's doing excellent. You know, people canceling their child's birth and their marriage. One guy even canceled his life-saving surgery in order to play a game called Cyberpunk 2077. I get it. A lot of people bought into the hype, including me. First impressions are everything, and they're just making sure that our first impressions aren't going to be something similar to Watch Dogs Legion. A lot of companies are not willing to move their dates.